Hi everybody, and welcome to today's math lesson for Monday, May 11th. Just like in Reader's Workshop, we'll be moving on to a new concept here in math as well. We're going to be looking at line plots. So we're working with measurement still. We were doing area and volume of rectangular prisms in the last unit. And now we're moving on to line plots, which is another way to measure data. So we have an objective today. Actually, we have two parts of an objective. The first part is to make a line plot to display a data set of measurement using fractions. And how we're going to do that is we're just going to use our ST Math puzzles for a while. So I want you to sign into your ST Math account. If you need an activation code, the activation code is on the Classwork Work tab for math today. You'll see that. And it is a 0. That's why I typed in the word 0 next to the number, just so you wouldn't mistake it for the letter O. So once you get onto your ST Math, you're going to see Gigi the penguin with the nice little cone here for line plot intro. And I want you to enter the cone, and you're going to take a pretest. Don't worry about it. You know, the score that you get on the pretest is really just for ST Math to see how well you were at the beginning and how well you're going to do at the end. And then you're going to come to the first cylinder, and you're going to click on it. You should be practicing soccer.plots eighths. You'll see that there's 4 levels. I want you to at least try to work on level 1 and 2 today in about 15 minutes. If you can't complete them in 15 minutes, that's fine. We'll be doing this all week. So click on the level 1, and I'm just going to show you what it's about. So this is making a line plot to display a data set of measurements using fractions. So you notice that you have a ruler here, and it's labeled as in whole inches, and then we have half, and then you'll see as you move through the puzzles it'll be in eighths and so on. So what you just have to do is watch Gigi kick the soccer ball by clicking on the soccer ball, and you notice that every time he kicks it, it's a certain amount of length, and you have to choose the dot that matches the length of the soccer ball. And this is how you're completing that objective of making a line plot to display data. So once again, just, go through this for 15 minutes just to practice making a data set on making a line plot using a given set of data. Okay, so I'm going to close out of this. And then after you're done with that, you're going to come to the math lesson for today. This is the second part of our objective. We're going to be using operations on fractions to solve problems involving information presented in line plots. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at my pictures here of water. And in order to meet our goal of using operations on fractions, we're going to use a few problems as practice, and then you'll have work to do on your own. So here I have some pitchers of water, and in each pitcher there are different amounts of water. What I want to do is I want to redistribute, which means take the water out and even it up so that each pitcher has the same amount of water. So the first thing I want to do is find the total amount of liquid that we have. And how do I do that? Well, I add up the fractions. I add up what I already have in each pitcher. That's really easy because the denominators are the same. They're all fourths. I can just add up the numerators. So if you see here, I added up 3/4 plus 1/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4. That gave me a total of 13/4. Now here, like I said, I added up all of the numerators because the denominators were the same. I could have also, some of you may have seen this, is multiplied 3 times 4, and I'll put that in parentheses, and then added 1/4 more, or 1 more, for a total of 13. Okay, and because the denominators were all the same, I could have easily have found the total amount of water with these two separate equations. Now, after I find the total amount of water, which is 13/4, I want to take that total amount of water and divide it amongst the 5 pitchers. So now that I have all of this water, I'm going to make each pitcher equal. And I have 5 pitchers. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So here I have my 13/4, and I'm going to divide them by 5. And you know when we're working with fractions, how do I make a whole number a fraction? I put it over 1. So here we go, 13/4 divided by 5 over 1. But I can't divide like this. Remember, I have to use the reciprocal, so I have to rewrite the equation. So you'll see right here how I rewrote the equation using the reciprocal. Now I have 13/4 times 1/5. Notice how the 5 was on top here in the numerator, and now it's in the denominator. And now instead of division, I'm using multiplication. Now I just multiply the numerator straight across. 13 times 1 is 13. And I multiply the denominator straight across. And 4 times 5 is 20. For a final answer of 13/20. So there is a total of 13/20 in each picture. Okay, let's move on to number 2. Here we have, at a party, cups were filled with different amounts of soda. If the soda had been poured into the cups evenly, how much would be in each cup? So again, the first thing we have to do is add up the fractions. So take a moment and add up the fractions on a scrap paper, on a whiteboard, or in your head. Notice how all the denominators are the same, so we only have to add up the numerators. Okay, so when you're coming back, you notice that you've taken all the numerators and you've added them up for a total of 29. Because the denominators were all the same, it becomes 29/7. So now you're going to take that 29/7 and you are going to divide them amongst the cups. So how many cups do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have 29/7 divided by 8. Take a moment, pause, make sure you're using the reciprocal, and find out what is 29/7 divided by 8. Okay, remember, when you're dividing 29/7, you have to use the reciprocal. So we'd have to now multiply 1/8. So again, when we divide using fractions, to make this whole number 8 a fraction, we'd have to put it over 1. So it would be 29/7 divided by 8 over 1. We can't do that. We have to flip that 8 over 1 and make it 1/8. So now we have 29/7 times 1/8 would come out to be 29/56, because what I would do is multiply the numerators. 29 times 1 is 29, and 7 times 8 is 56. So the total amount of soda in each cup would be 29/56. And again, if it's a rather large number, I would see if I can simplify it. Obviously, there's no common denominator or common factor in this fraction, so we're going to leave it as is. Okay, I want you to try number 3 by yourselves. The buckets below are partially filled with sand. So notice we have the sand in the terms of fifths. And the first thing we want to do is we want to add up the fractional amounts of sand. So why don't you pause the video and go do that. Okay, when you added up all of the fractional amounts of sand, you should have gotten to 16/5. Now you're going to take that sand, take the whole amount of sand, and divide it amongst the buckets. So how many buckets do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now we're going to take 16/5 and we're going to divide them by 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, 7. Take a moment, pause the video, make sure you're using the reciprocal, and find out how much bucket had of sand. Okay, so once you divided 16/5 by 7, you notice again the reciprocal. So we're going to flip that 7 over 1 and make it 1/7. And then we're just going to multiply the numerators. So 16 times 1 is 16. 5, and then multiply the denominators. 5 times 7 is 35 for a total of 16/35. Now again, if we can simplify that fraction, we are going to try, but if not, we're just going to leave it alone, and our total amount of sand in each bucket would be 16/35. Okay? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to go right over to the classwork. Oh, sorry. This is your work for today. This is what it'll look like, math work for May 11th, and you'll see that you have 5 problems similar to what we just did, and your answers are going to go right on the bottom. Please show the equations like I did in mine. So I want to see the equations look like this. I want to see adding up the numbers. I want to see the equations of using the reciprocal, and I want to see your answers. So please try to use the equations that we have here. I know it's hard to draw the fractions. You can just draw the number with the slash, the backslash to make the fraction. I want to see your equations on this worksheet. And then after you're done with this, you can move on to play some puzzles on Prodigy. If you have any questions, please let me know by email, and keep up the good work.